It's scary to think about what happened before Balto, right? Not that anyone was doing anything wrong, but you had so many calls and you really didn't have any insight. It's hard to like understand what life was like before Balto.
Josh, thank you so much for coming. Great to see you.
Nice seeing you as well. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Seriously, my pleasure. You are one of Balto's most interesting, unique customers. I love how you guys are purpose driven. Would you mind letting folks know what does NYPCC do?
So NYPCC, or New York Psychotherapy and Counseling Center, we're actually just celebrating our 50th anniversary of providing mental health services to underserved communities within New York City. We operate outpatient mental health clinics. We just opened our fourth clinic in Jackson Heights, Queens, which is very exciting. And we provide mental health services to those who need it most. Many of our clients are bilingual English, Spanish, clients who are of a lower socioeconomic background, and we strive to make sure that they have access to the services that they need and deserve. And so that's what we do, and we continue to do on a daily basis.
I'm picturing, outpatient mental health, and I can imagine a lot of times people come to you when they're in a really difficult situation. What does your initial contact with your clients look like?
Yes, so our initial contact typically would be a phone call, where either someone has, submitted their information and we're calling them, or they're calling us, in that time of need. And there's that sense of urgency, where they're calling, looking for some help to solve whatever issue that they're currently dealing with. And that's, where their initial point of contact is with our call center representatives.
And I imagine those call center representatives have to be pretty sophisticated, pretty well trained in order to handle those sort of cases.
Yes, they undergo a lot of training, and it's almost like a specialty within our call center. We call it our referral line, where we handle all of those phone calls to get clients set up for their appointments.
What's kind of the nature of the conversations they're navigating? Is it as, if I were to just take one end of the spectrum, as simple as, I'm so sorry to hear about the difficulties you're facing, let's get you set up? Or is there more engagement, more back and forth? How do you toe that probably pretty challenging line of not getting into a therapy session right there, or, outpatient mental health services right there on the phone, while also making sure you're meeting the future client where they're at?
So yeah, we gotta find that right balance. We want to give everyone, the time they need, make sure we get all the right information from them, but at the same time, we got to get through that phone call so we can get them in the room with a clinician. And that's where Balto honestly starts to come into play, where you can get caught up in a conversation. Someone is on the other end, possibly in, telling you about some situation that they're dealing with, something with their family, with their kids, with their spouse, and you got to sort of stay on script and make sure that you just get what's needed to get them set up for that appointment. And with a little handy agent on the screen called Balto, I think that's definitely a big help for our agents to do that.
Could you help us understand when you were thinking about bringing in Balto, what was the problem that you all were experiencing that you were trying to solve?
With the services that we provide, we field many different types of phone calls. So whether it's new clients seeking services or existing clients calling to schedule their medication appointment, medical record requests, they need to speak with their clinician because they're in crisis. There's many different reasons why someone would be calling us, and we're constantly evolving, constantly coming up with new ways to handle different scenarios. And the number of workflows that our agents need to be aware of and stay on top of to handle their phone calls can be a little bit overwhelming. And so we were looking for a solution that would allow the agents to have some sort of way to assist them on their phone calls, to have the right resources, know what to say, and also just find the different guidance that they may need, in the moment, in a little bit of a high pressure scenario.
Memorizing all those workflows does not seem feasible.
No, definitely not.
Since introducing Balto, what have been some of the successes you all have been able to see with the agents, or even the broader impact with supervisors and coaching? Maybe starting from the agent level, though, like what are some of the successes you all have seen?
So in terms of the agent, I think it's been a huge success for them. To have that resource, I personally have sat with the agents. I've taken phone calls, not too recently, but when we launched our call center, and I saw sort of what goes on, in the moment when you're taking that phone call and the client, you don't know what the call is going to be about. You answer the call, the client could be calling about anything, and then to have to sort of scramble and figure out what do I need to do, where do I need to look for this information, and now that we have Balto where the agent, whether it pops up automatically or they're able to search it within the playbook, they have that resource at their fingertips. And I think it does decrease, some of their anxiety on knowing that they have this right there and they don't have to, constantly place the caller on hold and ask their supervisor a question when they have everything right in front of them up on their screen. And I think that alone is taking some of the burden off of them. They're still doing a lot of work and it's a demanding job and it's, fulfilling work, but at the same time, they're able to have this resource at their fingertips where maybe previously they would have had to put the caller on hold, reach out to a supervisor, reach out to a colleague, and now they possibly can avoid that. So I think that that's a big help for them, helps them get through that call a little bit quicker.
The anxiety piece, probably part of that is it's the sort of thing where you don't really want to do it wrong. Like obviously no one wants to do anything wrong, but it seems like maybe there's a higher bar for making sure that they get these details right.
On the other side, the supervisory standpoint, in terms of quality, right, we're seeing that there's a consistency to what our agents are doing. Whereas previously you have a script that's, sitting somewhere in a Word document or an Excel file, a PowerPoint. Now we're able to really ensure that for the agents themselves and for us, that we're able to make sure they're following, the guidelines properly. And so we have, consistent quality across the organization as clients are making that, whether it's their first point of contact with us or they're, a regular client of ours just calling for whatever they need, we know that they're going to get the service and, that they need.
We hear consistency a lot, and I think consistency means something different to every organization and also has a different type of impact to every organization. Why in particular for you guys is consistency important?
When our clients are calling, obviously we're dealing with people's lives. This isn't, someone calling to purchase a product. These are people who are calling because they have needs in terms of mental health. And whether they're not yet receiving services with us or they're already receiving services, making the right decisions on the phone and giving them the correct information, handling everything properly, is so important because, you could have someone who's calling in crisis. And if you don't follow the correct protocol, you have someone's life at stake. And so it's really, really important for us that we have consistency and even just for our own, organizational reputation. We deal with, thousands of partners in the community and we strive for a level of excellence and we want to hold all of our staff from call center agent through clinician to that standard. And so that this consistency does allow us to ensure that standard across the board.
It sounds like there's obviously an impact with the person you're talking to right then and there, but there's also even a bigger brand impact of your partners and the people you work with knowing that certain stuff was done thoroughly and appropriately every single time that a new person calls in.
Absolutely. And anytime something comes up where like, someone reaches out, they're like, hey, this and this happened. I sort of have this initial level of confidence, knowing that our agents followed the right steps because our agents are great, our staff are great. We have a great leader of our call center, but additionally we have Balto. And so I know that they're using Balto and we've set it up and we worked with the Balto team to make sure that it's set up, in the right way for our team. And so anytime someone's like, hey, this and this happened, can you look into this call? Right away, I'm like, okay, in all likelihood, everything was done correctly because they were using Balto, they followed the steps. We'll go look at it, we'll make sure, if any coaching is needed, we'll take care of that. But that's been, a big help in terms of ensuring that quality and consistency.
And if we were to take a step back and go back to the supervisor escalations, you were talking about, agents not having to put customers on hold as much and not having to escalate to supervisors. If we were to do devil advocate for a minute, well, isn't that why supervisors are here, in order to handle escalations? So, what's important to you guys about not having, or, agents kind of being more autonomous? Why does that matter?
We have a finite resource in terms of our supervisors and, they're definitely busy. but we want to make sure that their time is spent, in the way that we want it to be spent and they want it to be spent. So, right, we'd rather spend time, training, coaching agents, professional development, and not handling escalation calls where, it's just a matter of, okay, this is information that we could have put down in some spreadsheet somewhere linked in Balto or, guidance in Balto, right? There's certain, we'll call it lower level tasks that we would want our agents to be able to handle on their own. We want to empower our agents, and not need to, contact the supervisor every time they're like, hey, I'm not sure how to handle this scenario. Obviously, you get an irate customer on the phone, and you try to follow the script and they want to speak to your supervisor, they're there for that. A complex scenario, a client in distress, a client in crisis, they're there for that. But there are certain scenarios where you're like, hey, why are we having a supervisor spend time on this when they could be dealing with coaching agents, training our new agents? We're always bringing new agents on board. We want to spend time developing our staff, and empower them, because I think for them as well, there's something to an agent being able to say, hey, I got through that call on my own. I didn't need to call my supervisor. I was able to figure it out on my own. And I think that's really encouraging to them as well.
I'm picturing almost the cultural impact that that has, where the agents feel empowered to handle things on their own, and the supervisors are now almost gifted this free time because the agents are being more discerning, which puts more responsibility on the supervisors back to say, how are you going to use your time effectively?
Yeah, I agree with that. And we're always looking for ways to improve. What we do, evaluating our workflows, evaluating our call scripts, all of our procedures. And I think this time is something that our supervisors have been able to take and actually improve, the quality of what we do.
In terms of metrics, what metrics have been important to you guys, and where have you seen Balto help out with metrics?
So in terms of metrics, obviously we want to make sure that our calls are handled as efficiently as possible. Escalations, that was something that we wanted to limit, and then, the handle time as well, because we are dealing with a large volume of clients calling us, seeking services. We have significant demand for our services. And so ensuring that our calls are handled efficiently, moving through the script and sort of not getting sidetracked, when a client is calling in distress and being able to sort of stay on script, stay on track, I think that helps us get through the call and be able to be in touch with, more clients and increase their access to care.
Let's talk about the Balto capabilities that you guys like using the most. So when you're working in Balto, where are you guys spending your time, and what do you think is impacting the supervisor experience and the agent experience most?
When we signed up for Balto, I think the focus was on the agent experience. And I think for them, it sort of remained the same in terms of being able to have that, helper on their screen, that assist on their screen, to be able to guide them through the calls, provide all the resources they would need. On the supervisory side, I think, at least for me personally, is where I've seen so many amazing features and continue to see so many amazing features that I enjoy and I know our supervisors enjoy. Just off the top of my head, before we talk about the new QA Copilot, because I think that's exciting, but the ability for us to just at a high level, 10 seconds, find any call and what it was about, I think it is so helpful, right? Someone lets me know, hey, this call happened, we need to look into it. I could click into the call and I have a summary right at my fingertips. I don't need to listen to the call. I don't need to read a transcript. I've gotten spoiled where if I ever need to listen to a call, a 5-minute call is nothing, right? I mean, that's something we always would have looked at before. But now that I can read a summary within 30 seconds, go to the Balto GPT and ask any questions that I have, I think that's been a game changer in terms of just being able to have that insight into what's going on within our calls. Because, if we have, hundreds or thousands of calls, the number of minutes that are being spent on the phone, and if you compare that to how quickly you can get information and extract that out, I think is unbelievable. So I know that's like a combination of a few features there, but just being able to have that oversight right there and insight into what's going on in our calls, I think has been a game changer.
Yeah, I love that. I'm almost thinking of like coverage of minutes, or minutes of your time that it takes to get coverage of total number of minutes that agents and customers have communicated. Like how much are you able to get visibility into, how quickly? And it sounds like you guys like there's a lever there.
It's scary to think about what happened before Balto, right? not that anyone was doing anything wrong, but you had so many calls and you really didn't have any insight. It's hard to like understand what life was like before Balto. I know that's like a little sales pitch there, but it's unbelievable how much insight we have now. And things were working well before, but now you're like, wait, what was time like before that? And being able to have that coverage is really it's great because we're only so many staff on the supervisory side. Our call center management team is made up of a few individuals, and you really can only listen to so many calls, right? You only have so much time in your day. Our calls for our new clients seeking services can take 15 minutes and up. And so think about how many of those can you realistically review and then have to deal with the coaching. But now you could just click in. You want to know, did the staff member ask this question? Right? Instead of having to listen to the entire call to find out that information, I go to Balto GPT and I just write, did the agent ask ABC? And I have my answer right there.
With Balto GPT, it seems like you like using it on the call level. So you have a call and it might be 15 minutes or even longer. And, without listening or digging, you can just quickly get an answer to something. So you're able to spend your time when you're listening to that call more appropriately. Or, what will let's say, what's an example of a question you might ask? And then, what would you then do once you have that answer?
Right. So we might have a client who something goes wrong with the appointment, right? They missed their appointment and they're like, hey, you never told me that I needed to show up to my appointment, a few minutes before the appointment for a telehealth session or whatever the example is. I can go in right there and just say, did the agent inform the client they need to show up early to the appointment? And it's going to tell me yes or no. And if it's no, I may go actually read the call to make sure Balto GPT is right, which it usually is, and provide coaching to the agent. If not, we'll at least know that we did the right thing, right? We just want to make sure that we're always doing the right thing. And so in an example like that, if that was an initial call that took 15 minutes, yeah, I could sort of click through the call and try to find the spot, but I'll never know for sure if it happened or not, right? Maybe they said it at minute 5, maybe they said it at minute 12, and you really have to listen to the whole thing to find out for sure. If you want to be 100% sure, now I could just ask the question, and my friendly Balto GPT will give me the answer.
I love that workflow. As you guys have been working with Balto, what are one or two roadblocks or challenges you encountered? And, what sort of effort did it take to, fix them? How did you and Balto work together to make it better?
So I would say, and you'll correct me if I'm wrong, but at least when we started with Balto, we were definitely a little bit different than some of your other customers in terms of, the nature of our business. And then also additionally, the added complexity is that because we have many clients who are Spanish speaking, all of our call center agents are bilingual English Spanish. So they can answer a call in English or they can answer a call in Spanish, depending on the client's preference and need. And so in the beginning, when we were dealing with our, on the agent side of things with the playbooks and some of the dynamic prompts, they weren't necessarily geared toward a mental health organization and for clients who are speaking English and Spanish. And so, the team at Balto has been phenomenal. Everyone, honestly, everyone we've dealt with since day one has been really, really great. And they really helped us to get our playbooks and our prompts and everything set up to meet the needs of our organization. And that's not just something that happened like day one at implementation. That's been like since implementation through now and continues to happen where anytime we notice that like, hey, this prompt isn't working for us or, something's not being picked up in, the Spanish dialect that our client or our staff member is speaking, the Balto team is always working to resolve the issue, figure out the workaround, and we haven't really run into any issues where we haven't been able to accomplish that.
Yeah, you guys definitely are unique. We have a bunch of customers in healthcare, but nobody in your specific line of healthcare. It's really cool to hear that you've been able to get the support from the Balto team to say, can we customize this thing for our business? Because no one else's business is really like ours. And you can't just apply some out of the box, prompts for our business, and that you guys have been able to get that support from Balto.
Absolutely.
And what do you think has been particularly different or special about partnering with Balto?
when we started with Balto, I think I didn't realize, I came across Balto somehow. Don't even ask me at this point. Came across Balto, product looks really cool. I said, this doesn't even seem possible, but okay, let's sign up. We're gonna make magic happen. And from the day we started with Balto, I've seen the culture of innovation within the organization, within the company. I'm guessing from the top down with you, Mark, working with and partnering with Balto has been a great experience. We're also a company that likes to innovate. We're always coming up with new ideas. When it applies to Balto, we share those with you. And to see our ideas come back to us in the product is something that we really appreciate because, we can work with companies where we have great ideas. There's whether it's an issue with the product or it's just something that we're like, hey, this product has the potential to do A, B, and C for us. We suggest it, and they're like, yes, thank you very much, great idea. And then I think it goes who knows where. But with Balto, we have our regular meetings with you guys every other week, and we share ideas. And then I get an update back. Like, what did the product team think about it? Even if they're like, hey, the product team liked it, but it's not going to happen because this doesn't really apply to all of our other customers. It's too unique of an idea. Or sometimes the response is, this is a great idea. They like it. It's on the roadmap. And then a few months later, I'll get an update like, hey, that feature you suggested is coming out in a month. That's something that we appreciate because, we don't just want to like purchase a product. We want to partner with, companies that are going to work with us and help us, grow and innovate as an organization as well. So I think that part's been like, the culture at Balto, where you guys are always looking for new ideas and willing to explore new ideas is something that, allows us to work really well with you guys.
That is so great to hear. And, I'll kind of convert that into advice for prospective future Balto customers. Lean in. I think that, one of the reasons that the Balto team has been able to be so receptive to your guys' ideas is because you were meeting us halfway as like an innovative partner. So you guys are coming with the ideas. You're saying, could it be like this or could it be like that? You're meeting with, our product leadership and articulating, why this idea matters and how you'd use it. Just as much credit as the Balto team deserves, and I'm super grateful for everything that the team is doing. The innovative companies need innovative customers. And because you guys are leaning in and providing that fuel, that's the only reason that's possible. So thank you so much to you and the NYPCC team as well for being the sort of partner that, we're able to do our best work for.
It's our pleasure, and we look forward to continuing that.
Josh, really great today. Thank you so much for your time. And let's catch up soon. It's been a little while, so I'd love to hear everything's going.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.